Well, I'm joined now by somebody who's becoming, well, pretty much a regular, I guess, on this programme. It's Adam Holloway, Conservative Member of Parliament for Gravesham. And, of course, you've just got back from your trip to Poland and into Ukraine. And thank you for broadcasting into us earlier this week. It was great stuff. You're not in too much trouble in Westminster, I hope.
Truly, I don't think I'm in trouble at all. I think it was a typical, what I think your viewers would call mainstream media, sort of non-story. Someone asked at a press conference whether or not an MP should travel, and someone said they shouldn't break the travel advice. As I've said, I quite agree with that. You know, we shouldn't break the travel advice, but I think sometimes it is necessary.
Yeah, well, it was the Daily Mirror.
And it's advice as well.
Yeah, it was the Daily Mirror who sort of...
Well, most of them, actually.
But anyway, but you're here. So, Adam, let's start with... You know, we saw some of your testimony on the ground, which was powerful, about people volunteering, genuinely wanting to fight. Was your impression, as, you know, 40-mile columns were approaching Kyiv and everything, was it your impression that the will of the people was holding? So
I was talking to a three-star general, and he said that the Russians' behaviour had done something that he didn't think would ever be possible, and that was it had united the Ukrainians. And definitely that's what I felt. You know, I stress I was not in Kiev. I was in the big western city.
Yeah.
So, you know, the will is absolutely there. Whether the means are is different. I mean, the reality is, and people can't see, but there's a map on Nigel's desk with all the various little front areas that the Russians are moving. So this is a massive, massive operation by a very, very significant military power against the Ukrainians, who are doing amazingly. You know, they've been modernising their army, obviously, for a while. They've got modern, capable armed forces. They're receiving a lot of help from other countries. I think, you know, a couple of dozen almost are doing this.
Yeah.
But, you know, they are fighting against the Russians, and that's a big deal.
By all accounts, the anti-tank weapon, the new anti-tank weapon that we've developed in conjunction with some Swedish technology, that appears to be very effective.
It's very effective, but the critical point is it's also, you know, very easy to use, because there are loads of weapon systems out there. But the one thing the Ukrainians can't do now is suddenly get weapons that they haven't been trained on, because at the moment they can't take people out of the fighting to learn how to use complicated new systems. They can only use either things that are new ones that are very simple, or ones that they're familiar with. So one of the things being talked up at the moment is the need for aircraft. And there's talk about countries that still use Soviet-era equipment that the Ukrainians obviously know how to use, and that those actually being lent to Ukraine now to be flown by Ukrainian pilots. Because, again, nobody sane is saying that the West, that NATO should actually get involved in the fight. You know, the Ukrainians could do that themselves, but we've got to give them the kit to do it.
Although if you're Romania or Bulgaria and you've got a couple of dozen jets, you might think, actually, given what's going on, we might want to keep them here.
As ever, you're spot on. I mean, look, that's a very, very good point. So what has to happen if, say, Romania gives up its, you know, however many MiGs it's got, then we have to have some air defence guarantee for them. So we should bring in a modern air defence system.
And NATO could do that.
And NATO could do that. But as I said to you, I think, was it last night, the night before last, what they're screaming for is air defence systems. And indeed, I mean, in this notebook, you know, I've got their shopping list of equipment. What's really striking is they actually know where the air defence systems that they want are. For example, they want a load from Finland. Finland recently upgraded its system, and its old system, which is called the Book system, they've actually got them in warehouses. The Ukrainians desperately want those because they've got Book already, and they know how to use them.
Well, as you say, they are getting help. They're going to need an awful lot more, by the looks of it. Very tough fight on their hands. Some thoughts on the Emmanuel Macron comments, and you saw what our American general had to say in response. What is it with the French?
You know, when you mentioned this before the programme, I just thought the sheer ingratitude. I mean, look at the way America's basically underwritten European defence since the Second World War.
For 70
Yeah, and now is not the time to raise your kind of, you know, national politics, you know, when actually we are, you know, we have a major war in Europe. This is really not the time to be. And to say that the Americans aren't doing anything, I mean, I'm sure the Russians can see from their satellites and their spies. I mean, I was down in southeastern Poland, at an airport last night, and those were American planes I saw, American transport planes.
Okay.
This is the height of ingratitude.
Yeah. So, President Macron, please have a good, cold, hard look at the reality.
Yeah, or some satellite photographs, some southeast Polish airports.
Yeah. Well, he's busy fighting an election campaign. Adam, serious point. This refugee, huge train of people, remarkable the way that countries like Poland are dealing with this, and families are taking women and children in, and, you know, it hasn't led to huge refugee camps. I mean, it's very, very impressive what the Poles are doing. 1 million have crossed that border so far. Some experts think it could be as many as 4 million by the time this is all over. I mean, goodness knows. They're vast, vast numbers. What should we do?
You're absolutely right. I mean, I spent like 5 hours killing time in a little town in southeast Poland yesterday before going to get a flight. And there were 2 demonstrations in support of the refugees. And you'd see people wheeling bags being taken into hotels by the Poles. I mean, the Poles have been extraordinary. And then when you're at the border, you see thousands of women and children. I mean, it's really a remarkable sight. But, of course, the men between 18 and 60 are being kept, potentially to fight. So these are not the relatively rich economic migrants who call themselves refugees, who cross over from Calais completely uncontrolled. I mean, I lived once undercover in the old Sangatte camp in Calais. And honestly, then, and I believe now, 99% of these people who are doing exactly what I do the same if I was from a poorer country, but they are economic migrants, not refugees. Whereas these people really are refugees. And I think that we can afford to be really very generous with the Ukrainians, because this is not of their doing, and their menfolk are fighting this war on our behalf because we cannot get involved. So I have no issue with potentially, you know, many, many, many tens of thousands coming here, because they'll return. That's where their families are. And we have to have a different category of asylum that doesn't mean that you stay here forever.
So it will be a year, 2 years,
whatever it is. But, you know, we must do this.
Adam Holloway, thank you for becoming a regular on this show this week. It's been terrific.
Can I make 2 more points, if I may, Nigel?
Go on.
One, it strikes me that part of this problem has been caused by the environmental lobby and our opposition to fracking, for example. Britain should start fracking immediately.
Okay.
And my next point, since this is the first time I've seen you since Brexit, I'm genuinely embarrassed that you haven't been recognised and given a peerage or something for your remarkable service to our country.
Very sweet of you.